charged head first. Okay, we are back. Hopefully, hopefully, actually good for good this time. Hopefully, I don't have to take any more interruption breaks. We're gonna pull myself up here. Still have that shit pinned, so we don't even have to worry about that. Um, so I'm gonna jump right into it today. Um, yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be reacting to a couple different videos over the next couple of days of the Stop Killing Games movement. So I figured what better place to start than like with the actual video that kicked off the whole movement in the first place. Um, this one over at Accursed Farms and everything else like that. I originally I've watched a couple of videos about this video. I haven't actually watched the original video itself. So I also want to get more information from the source. I also have seen the original Pirate Software video that he made about Stop Killing Games, and I originally like agreed with his take because like it made sense to like that people could use it maliciously, but I didn't realize that Ross had said in his original video that the movement is actually trying to make sure that they still account for that and not actually uh make sure that this movement can be used maliciously to end up killing more games instead of actually stopping it. And uh A couple other things in the videos that I've watched about this video came to light about Pirate Software that I figured out, and I'm starting to realize that maybe he's not entirely right on this. So I'd rather hear a little bit more from the actual source of the whole topic.
Hello, this is probably the final update to the Stop Killing Games campaign.
Okay, he was not playing at all. Am I still playing? Yes, I am still playing. All right, let's see if we can get him going.
Though I'm coming at you a little bit like a time traveler would. It'll make sense in a minute. As a refresher, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement to stop publishers from effective.
Yeah, essentially what he's trying to do with this entire movement is that he's trying to get it so that live service and online games are at least left in a playable state so that way people that enjoy them and spend money on them can still enjoy them later on in the future
Destroying video
instead of it
games
just
they have
being like
already
shut
sold to
down and destroyed.
customers. Now, we've gone about this in many ways, but it's easiest to divide this up by things we've already done and things we can still do. Because there's about a dozen things we've already done. Yeah, in fact, here's
Actually,
a
I got to this point, and this is when I realized that my video wasn't playing because I did want to stop this and go over some of them. Submit complaints to the European Consumer Centers Network from multiple countries. Submit a petition to Canadian Parliament on the destruction of games. Make contact with the BEUC to influence the EU Commission ongoing. Oh, okay, okay. The results were over here dead end, no consistency at all from offices, was a redundant at best. So the European Consumer Centers did not give a shit. Dead end said the provinces will have to deal with it, which are too small to impact the industry. So Canada essentially said that's not an us issue, that's a by province issue. That one's still going. Submit complaints to the oh my god, I will butcher that, and I'm pretty sure butcher's in there. Um on the crew, issues escalated at the agency, decisions pending. That sounds promising. Submitted complaints to the DGCCRF. I don't know what that is. Honest to God. Issues escalated on the highest level of the agency, decisions pending. That's actually pretty good. That sounds like really promising. Contact the UFC. Uh, Q Choisier on the crew, ongoing. Submit complaints to the French legal. Meteors on the crew still processing, but will likely get deferred to the DGCCRF. So I'm guessing that has something to do with France if it's going to get deferred to them, or maybe it's a European Union altogether. We need to actually look more into that. Submit complaints to the ACCCC, CCCCC on the crew. issues escalated to the end at the agency. Decisions pending. Submit a petition to the Australian Parliament on the destruction of games. Said they won't act. The ACCC should be contacted instead. So they tried to go here and then they contacted here. Asked questions at the EU Commission of the destruction of games. Said they could be in violation, but it has to be handled by the member states. Okay, interesting. And I can't read the rest because everything's in the way.
A list if you want to pause this.
I do.
Going over this again would
Honestly,
be a
it
video
looks
in
like they got
itself.
some things
We'll
done.
talk
Like you
more
said,
about
they
some
got
of this
about
towards
a
the
dozen
end.
things done.
So that just leaves things
But,
we can
like, a lot
still
of things
do,
seem like
which
that
are only
also.
2 items.
Also.
One is for the UK to sign a government petition to bring this issue before
So they need more
Parliament.
signatures.
Though keeping it real,
I've
I'm not
seen
terribly
at this point. I think they're up to almost 80,000 or 800,000 signatures. They're reaching up to 1 million.
optimistic about this one, since the government response has been a mess.
Also, not gonna lie, getting 1 million signatures on anything is a fucking feat. Oh my god.
Every definition. It's a long and boring, but the short version is it's hit a bureaucratic roadblock and will stay stuck unless it gets more signatures. But the one
essentially they need to know that enough people actually see it's an issue before they're going to do anything and waste their resources or their time or their money.
Has a lot of power, so much so I think it could change the course of gaming history, is the European Citizens Initiative. Now, I said I'm approaching this like a time traveler because with the trajectory we're on, these are both going to fail. So I figure...
well, okay, yeah, originally... So this is like 2 weeks old almost. So originally this was set to fail. But it
why
looks like
wait until they actually do to
now.
tell people? Both the petitions end in July. The Citizens Initiative in particular on July 30th.
Got such a boost, and we're not even halfway there again. Or, well, we're closer to this one, but I feel like he can get it. Oh, shit. I feel like he can get it before the time is up. But this one, they got plenty of time.
First. This video probably won't change the timeline. It's just a last-ditch attempt to wake people up on it. The European Citizens Initiative failing kind of stings. Again, this one is crazy powerful, but the hurdle we just couldn't get past was that it requires 1 million signatures from citizens of EU countries.
And it looks like they're finally getting those signatures, and he might actually end up doing something.
And we've only made it...
Hopefully it ends up doing something, because getting the signatures isn't always the end-all, be-all. I think everybody remembers how the net neutrality thing ended.
Just under halfway. That's really too bad, because I have high confidence this would have solved the problem of publishers destroying video games. Now, why do I say that? What a lot of people...
But also all depends on if Parliament sees it. Well, I mean, I guess it's not talking about the United
People don't realize is that in the EU especially, it's almost a state of lawlessness regarding the practice of game destruction. Okay, I don't want to put people to sleep here, but the quick legal argument is that the vast majority of games with an online requirement say they can be terminated at any time for any reason.
And yeah, this is wild that they say it might at any time, but like at the same time, it's got to make sense because like they can't keep servers up forever. But like this is going to make it so they don't have to keep servers up forever, but they will have to make the game at least playable.
Reason. Or
for no reason. That's actually wild because that just means that they can just terminate this agreement at any time or any reason. So that means, like, let's say they just don't like your face. They can just terminate this agreement. And with or without notice to you. So they don't even got to tell you. They could just not like your face and not tell you about it and then delete your account.
Reason. But according to the EU Commission, that might be a violation of Directive 93/13 EEC, which protects consumers against unfair terms in consumer contracts. So if that term is unfair, that means that part of the contract is null and void. And if it's null and void, then what does the law say about how long your purchase lasts? Well, it doesn't. That's the whole mess. So if there are no...
Yeah, I was going to say the fact that, like, there is that weird loophole in the first place and there's no structure around it, and it's gone on for at least I want to say better half of my life, if not a good quarter. It's definitely a little more than a quarter, but it's not as much of half that we've been dealing with issues about this stuff. And we just, or hell, honestly, I've seen videos of people detailing back all the way to like the 90s of games that have been shut down. And then like you haven't been able to play again, like literally ever. And nobody will ever be able to play it again. I'm trying to think of a few. Like, obviously, I don't fucking know what they are, but like, I know other people have talked about them. One big one, I don't think it's still online, that I used to play all the time was Pirates of the Caribbean online. That game was like fucking the tits for a pirate game back on old PC browser, but I don't think you can play it anymore. I'll probably look it up later.
Legal guidelines, what are consumer expectations for how long video games last? Well, indefinitely.
Well, I was gonna say, when you buy something, especially a physical copy of something, you definitely always expect to be able to use that thing. Well, I was gonna say, you buy a spoon, you always expect to be able to use the spoon. You don't expect the dude from Target to come back and take the spoon out of your drawer and be like, "Okay, your lease is up. Terminate the contract."
Even the average online multiplayer video games from the 90s can still work today if you didn't change the hardware or software. So the law wasn't written for this situation. The industry's terms might possibly be illegal, and traditional
But the thing is that the industry's terms might be illegal, and not only is the law not set up to determine if it's illegal or not, they are actively not doing anything, and he's got to jump through all of these legal loopholes or legal hoops to even try to get this initiative off the ground.
expectations are games last indefinitely. Now, of course, publishers can't support games indefinitely, but by not giving expiration dates or end of life plans, that might be the situation they've put themselves in. I cannot emphasize enough what a mess this is. If you were an impartial judge just trying to interpret the law, you'd have a headache. I don't know what you would do. You'd probably tell the EU Commission they need to make a law on this because this is a glaring omission. So being in the middle of this quagmire,
It's a clear loophole that they haven't accounted for and would have never accounted for when writing the law, because a live service video game was never even thought of at the time when they were writing the laws. So, like, of course, they couldn't account for that fact. So, obviously, it needs to be updated because it's being abused. Like, consumer rights are being abused. People are literally paying for something, and then for no other reason, just because can have that thing taken away.
right now, if we had rolled up with 1 million signatures demanding that the EU give us basic consumer rights for video games, that would have been the easy way out for regulators, because then they would have a mandate. That's what I meant about my half-joke slide about politicians liking easy wins. This situation is such a mess that trying to settle this under existing law is more work than creating laws under a consumer mandate. And thanks to the action we pushed at consumer protection agencies, doing nothing is no longer an option for multiple countries. We've made sure of that. But none of that matters because the initiative is failing. Now, my original thought was that ironically, it's difficult to get gamers to care about games because a whole lot of people are cruising at maximum apathy these days. But I think it's more than that. For most of the
And he's 100% right. Like, if you have to do more than just click a button, like, let's say you even have to click 2 buttons, people don't want to do it. Like, if you have to not only click on the first button to go to the petition page, right? And then you click to sign the petition. Okay, now it needs your name. What? Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. I was gonna say it already sounds like boring, and you don't want to do it. It's gonna say you gotta sign your name, and then they might want your address to prove that you're actually a citizen of the EU because they don't want just random signatures. And then like you might have to prove it somehow, and everything else like that. And then there's all these steps, and it's all just to protect what video games, like which gamers, yes, care about video games, but the average consumer is not going to care this hard about video games. but also a bunch of YouTubers making videos about it will always end up getting signatures to rise, which is what happened.
The past year, the initiative has bounced back and forth between being the third and second most popular active initiative in the EU. The only ones that topped it were far more serious social issues.
Which I was going to say,
So that
things
says
that
to me-
people genuinely care about. So this is like actual emergencies and things people care about right here, because it's a basic consumer protection that's being abused.
The problem isn't getting gamers to care about games, it's getting people to care about anything. And frankly, that is a checkmate move. If people can't care enough to write their name on a form to protect their rights and stop things
Yeah,
that
exactly. People just don't give a shit, and they're not going to want to sign their name because it's too much work to even do that.
care about from being destroyed, then yeah, I can't do much with that. I am not a Care Bear that can shoot light out of my stomach to make people give a damn.
Have you tried? I'm just saying, man. Like, what?
They shoot out their tummy.
Yeah, exactly. Have you tried rubbing your tummy hard enough?
Here,
Like, for
there,
all I
there.
with that attitude, you're never gonna do it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Plus, it's hard to know how many people don't care and how many never knew about the initiative in the first place. It's certainly not for a lack of trying. I have tried to push
Oh
this.
no, I was gonna say he's been pushing it for the better part of a year. I want to say I heard of. I didn't watch the actual. Or no, actually, I think I watched like half of the original first video he put out about the movement, and then I watched the 2 Pirate Software videos, and then I didn't hear anything about it again until like the last couple months or the last couple weeks, actually.
Everywhere I can, though I'm an amateur at all of this. I have a medium-sized YouTube channel for making comedy videos involving gaming. That's it for my
That's at least something though. Like that was enough that a bigger YouTuber could see it and like start getting traction on it and helping him get harder traction. Because like think about like if I did something like that, we'd just be dead in the water. That'd be it. Like fucking this initiative wasn't going anywhere. We got like what, a couple hundred views. Oh yep, you're dead.
advantages. Now, I've tried to leverage this to push the initiative, get as much help as possible, but I've never been great at marketing and networking,
It's really hard,
you know,
especially
stuff you
online.
need on a campaign. Yeah, in fact, I never wanted to do any of this. I've been beating the drum on the problem of game destruction going on 10 years now, but the problem only got worse and worse, and nobody was doing a damn thing about it. So when the opportunity to do something finally presented itself in the form of the biggest game shutdown from a European company, I pounced on it as
I was gonna say he saw opportunity and he bit that bullet. And like at first it looked like he was gonna end up losing, but persistence is always key. If you really believe in something, just fight till the end. You might die on that hill, but there's also a possibility some people will come up and back you.
hard as I could. So I've hated
Oh,
doing almost every aspect of this campaign and will be
I'm gonna-
very happy for it to end. But I would have hated myself even more if
at
nobody
least
stepped
you
up to
watch
do
the video
anything.
yourself also.
So in light of that, I think our exposure has been phenomenal. We've gotten a lot of
Oh
support.
no, like even for like a middle, like especially now that a bigger YouTubers have picked it up and everything else like that, I would say the coverage that he's gotten has been crazy.
Or just fair coverage from major YouTubers. Some ordinary gamers, Young Ye, Lewis Rossman has been a bro especially.
Someone
Gamers Nexus, Linus Tech Tips,
actually
Game
started,
Link, Philip the
talking about I think he's the first one I saw anyways. I'm sure one of these guys might have said something before him, but I'm the first, like when I saw him say something is when I started seeing like a bunch of people actually start to talk about this.
Franco, Asmongold, Black Panther, Second Wind, including Yahtzee and the other Frost,
I
Spawn
didn't even know Yahtzee had a take on it. Last I seen Yahtzee wasn't even on the internet anymore. I need to go and see what the fuck he's been up to.
Wave, Civi 11, Mandalore Games, Bellular News, Digital Foundry, Josh
Yeah, I was gonna say Bellier's recently covered it. We're gonna
Strife
react to
Hayes,
one of
Tech
his videos
Tangents.
tonight.
Honestly, it goes on and on. I'm leaving out a lot of people. My apologies on that. We've gotten game news outlet coverage. PC Gamer, IGN, Rock Paper Shotgun, Kotaku, TechSpot, Eurogamer, PC Games
I'm
N.
actually getting full on publication like coverage as well is like huge.
Destructoid, Game Rant. There's more. And regular news outlets Metro, Euronews, Variety, Forbes. Also,
Jesus,
many
actually
non English
getting the
outlets from
Forbes already.
France,
Crazy.
Germany, Italy, Poland, Hungary. There's a lot.
To say his movement has failed is kind of crazy when you got this much people talking about it. But like, I guess he just didn't have the signatures to back it initially until this last push.
And some developers. Running with Scissors, Landfall Games, Mala Industria Games, Octane. Those awesome
I was gonna say now you got Curly's Games doing coverage of it.
guys. And developers of emulators like Dolphin, PCSX2,
Ooh.
and
A lot of fun on
PPSSPP.
those.
And some more indie developers I may have lost track of. I'm sorry. And this last one is hearsay, but it's my favorite if true. Developers from Ubisoft Ivory Tower. The people who made The Crew, which is the game we used to get all this action rolling in the first place.
It wouldn't surprise me, like especially like if you hear someone's trying to preserve the thing that you literally probably, let's say, what I don't know how long it took for The Crew to be in development, but they probably worked on it for I want to say at least like a good couple, like I want to say 5 years probably initial development, and then probably had live service development after that and added more content for I think up to like 10 years I think. But like anyways, if you put that much work into something and then you heard it's just gone forever, I'm sure you would back a movement that's trying to preserve that thing.
Yeah, it turns out a lot of developers who spend years of their lives working on something
exactly.
don't like seeing it destroyed by publishers.
Exactly.
Who'd have thought?
Like, imagine, actually, some construction workers do get to experience this, but like, imagine putting like years of your life working on a skyscraper and it's finally finished and everything. And like, they're like, all right, guys, well, they finish it and they get 5 years of work out of it, like actual use out of it. And then they're like, all right, guys, time to blow it up. We got our use out of it. When it's a perfectly good building that could still be used for like several more years, like probably even up to 100. But like, they're like, nope, time to destroy it. It's not making us any more money.
I've been saying yes to almost all offers for interviews, questioning, or any kind of outreach opportunities that came our way. I honestly don't know how many interviews I've done on this issue at this point. It's easily dozens, though not all of them were on video. One was even for BBC Radio. And then there would be the spontaneous offers that would pop up throughout the entire campaign, like working with members of European Parliament to push through questions to the EU Commission, having meetings with the BEUC as another route to the EU Commission.
Consumer, okay.
Meetings with representatives from GOG. That one was looking promising until they fired the representatives we were talking with, then backpedaled. That sucked.
No shot. Well, I mean, I guess it was because of financial troubles. It wasn't specifically because he was talking to them.
Meetings with representatives from Heineken. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah,
Heineken, of all companies, supports the initiative because it ties in well with some gamer lounge campaign they have going. That one was going to be a huge boost for us, but they ended up having to postpone it a year, which is too late. I've had meetings with Fudo, F-Camp. Probably the funniest of these was another member of European Parliament.
Hopefully now with the signatures he's getting, he'll get that Heineken. He'll get that Heineken sponsorship. That'd be wild to have like a full-on gamer like Heineken lounge just there.
Who is also on the Committee on Culture and Education. Their staff reached out to me.
Like, what I'm getting at is like if they had a Heineken like gaming event to support the Stop Killing Games initiative, that would actually probably be pretty huge.
Set appointments, canceled, then kept having to reschedule 3 times. And this is all on top of the day-to-day outreach, organizing, and just basic communication with God knows how many people. Again, I've hated doing this because I have to fight all my instincts not to bother people. I hate being a
Oh, I was gonna say I understand what he's talking about. If I have to pester somebody about anything, like even if it's for my own good, I feel like the asshole. Like even if I'm not the asshole, like I'll be like, oh shit, my bad. Even though like you left me in the rain for like 3 hours and like you told me we were gonna just be 15 minutes. I only called you 3 times also, but I feel like I'm the dick because I called you 3 times.
pest. But you kind of have to do some of that when campaigning. At this point, I've written a couple thousand emails connected to the campaign, trying to do outreach, research, and just keeping things together. I haven't done that much on Twitter because I don't have much of a presence there. Same goes for Reddit.
I'm gonna say you got to pay a lot of money to have a presence on Twitter. Reddit, you got to have I guess you just have to have a backbone, honestly. You just get into like 3 or 4 arguments and you'll have a presence on Reddit, trust me.
Yeah, Reddit. I received so many reports of promotions of the initiative being deleted. And some of the ones that stayed up are some of the most hostile to the initiative that I've seen.
Oh my god, Reddit is so fucking bad with fucking hostiles. All you have to do is just post like, let's say you're like, hey man, I cured cancer, and someone would get on there and be like, thanks, my mom just died of cancer this morning, you fucking asshole. Like, and they would make you feel bad about it. Like, oh, it's just actually the worst. And like he said, the amount of moderation also, you can't post anything anywhere without being labeled by an auto moderator as a advertiser. And especially like trying to get word out about an initiative like this, I'm sure like he probably was only able to get it on like a handful. I know, like trying to promote my games and my fucking YouTube videos and everything, like I get so much hate and like so many of my videos getting taken down, and I just straight up get banned from so many Reddit boards also because of it. It's just actually kind of insane.
Yeah, isn't Reddit just a wonderful place to be nowadays? We did get a Discord launched where people could independently organize, so I wouldn't be bottlenecking anything if others have better ideas on what to do. I believe currently they're trying to contact TV stations about this in Europe, something I never would have had a clue how to do. That's exactly the sort of thing I was hoping would emerge. Yeah, I really want to emphasize that from the second the initiative launched, nothing had to go through me. It's been there in public.
So he's just been trying to push it. He's just the figurehead of it, essentially. The movement, he started it, but he wants other people to support it and take it further.
Like this entire time, with easy multilingual guides at StopKillingGames.com. We blazed a trail to make it easy for others to act on this. But that wasn't enough. So it feels like I've been running a rickshaw carrying people to the destination to save games, except it's breaking down halfway. The work on this has never stopped. I never wanted my involvement on the campaign to last this long. I kept hoping after launch, somebody with more reach and better at campaigning could just point people to the destination.
Nah, man. Well, it did eventually happen now. Now that you actually ended up getting like you now have a narrative of someone trying to kill games on top of you trying to save games. So you have a clear hero and a villain, and it's a clear, easy story and an easy narrative for people to pick up and tell.
And get it done. But no, I've had to keep hauling that rickshaw.
Also, like I said, getting people to do anything that's more than 3 clicks, and you have to actually type, like, the fact that you have to actually type your information, good luck. Just actually good luck trying to get people to do that.
Not every week, but there have been many weeks on the campaign where I've been working 12 to 14 hours a day to keep things moving to get signatures.
Yeah.
And the only way I was even able to do that was to burn some of my savings and put everything else on hold. I've been kind of stupid about this because it's our only shot. Again, this is an amateur effort. That means there's no staff and no salary. So if I need help with something and ask a volunteer to help with it and they disappear on me,
that's it. Now you gotta do it on your own. It's big boy time.
well, then they disappear on me and I need to do it myself. Or if I can't, then I need to hunt down someone else to help with it and hope they don't disappear on me. Meanwhile, my channel has been suffering, as my viewers can tell you. I'm stretched too thin.
Well, I was going to say he's spending all his time on something else. He can't spend time on actually doing this part of his hobby.
Now, I have been maybe fairly criticized for not running a fundraiser for this. There are reasons for that. The first,
Well, I was going to say making money off of doing something like this just kind of feels a little gross, but like at the same time, like he definitely is going to need it to keep pushing the initiative the way he
is until recently, I didn't know where we would spend it. People would say buy ads, but the initiative could be considered political, and YouTube doesn't allow political ads in a lot of EU countries, and neither does Twitter.
Which, I mean, that's fair. I was going to say, if you don't want your ads getting flagged, because that would end up hurting the initiative more than helping.
Twitch. Good luck reaching gamers without YouTube or Twitch. So taking money with no plan, that's a grift. And another reason is I am one of the worst people to manage that sort of thing. Financial...
Oof. Well, at least he is man enough and responsible enough to admit that. I was going to say he could have just taken the money and just blew it all and been financially irresponsible, but instead he was like, you know what? No. I am a mess with my own finances. No reason to put that on everyone else.
Paperwork is an Achilles heel of mine and seems to take me 10 times more effort than anything else.
It's just about paperwork.
I mean, I can do accounting, budgeting, math. That's not a problem. No, I mean having knowledge of all the obscure forms you need to fill out, what all the tax laws that apply are, what all the specialized terminology is, and just all the hidden rules.
Okay, never mind. He's not a budgeting mess like I am. He can actually manage his money.
Now you might say, just hire an international tax accountant for multiple countries.
Just doesn't want to do
okay, there goes a third of our funding then. So what are we even doing? I cannot emphasize how much I struggle with financial business crap like that. So the thought of me putting together a fundraiser for what might be considered a political fund that needs to adhere to laws in multiple countries, and if I make a mistake, that could be considered a crime?
Yeah,
no.
Sure.
That's like asking somebody with severe dyslexia to write a book report on war and peace. I am the...
You never know. They might fucking get it backwards, and you might get some philosophical stuff that's actually true.
Wrong person for that job. But I've still been trying, to the best of my ability anyway. I didn't discover this until late in the process, that even though general ads were out, sponsored messages were still an option for some countries. And some mysterious benefactors emerged, offering to pay them.
Well, one thing he also could think about is that you could, I mean, most of them are done through Google AdSense anyways, so you'd probably be breaking their whatever it was, like political policy anyways, but you could probably go through AdSense and put it up on like GameFAQs and everything. But like actual gamers don't really read the fucking articles half the time anyways. So it's really hard to say if that would really 100% help you or not.
Them directly. But that means I needed to find all these channels and broker all these deals. So as a last-ditch effort, I've been looking through hundreds of targeted non-English gaming channels trying to find good candidates for this. Then work with bilingual liaisons for each language. Then try to put together a contract and figure out what a good offer is for them.
He's done so much fucking work. Jesus Christ. Like, he actually cares. This is insane. The amount of paperwork, the amount of people he's talked to, the amount of resources he's put up online. And, like, just to do all this is actually insane and shows a level of care that, like, interesting. But, yeah, shows a level of care that, like, you literally, like he said, you can't get people to do anymore.
The amount of views we expect, I am so out of my depth on this, but I'm still trying. At this point, I've browsed through more clickbait AI-generated thumbnails than I have the entire rest of my life. I honestly can't decide which part of the campaign I've hated the most. Acting as an advertising broker, not knowing our budget or what's a good offer, or trying to research laws governing this practice that don't exist, except I didn't know that at the time. So how are these sponsored ads going? Are they going to get us the signatures?
Nope.
As of recording this, I don't know. It's a Hail Mary pass as it is.
I was going to say the advertising is probably not going to get the signatures, but technically you have now gotten advertising through several different bigger YouTubers, so you don't have to worry as hard. We're getting there.
I'm just going to assume it won't, and I'm completely spent on ideas on how to get more signatures. I did everything I possibly could to make this campaign work. It wasn't enough.
Probably the best idea.
Or rather, I did everything that made sense to me. I did receive a lot of suggestions of things I do not think would have worked. A bunch of people told me to make short form videos on this. I tried that. They got a...
Actually, I was going to say it would probably be, well, I guess I didn't get that many views, but like that's still a decent amount. If he had done like at least like 2 a day, like 1 every 2 days, I feel like it's still quite a bit of like actual views you can get.
A fraction of my usual views. I've been told make more videos on my channel saying the same thing. But lots of views on my channel doesn't help if it's all the same audience. Because people...
Well, it doesn't, but like when shorts hit the algorithm feed, it mostly goes not only to your audience, but it's supposed to anyways go to more new viewers than your actual audience. I don't know what his statistics on his YouTube channel and everything look like. He could have a little bit more insight than I have on that. But like, what I would think is like, yes, saying the same thing over and over again is going to get repetitive, and your actual viewers are going to get bored of hearing the same thing. But it's also the only way you are going to get people to act. That's why political campaigns work the way they do, and they hit you all at once right before the fucking actual election, so you're reminded of it. You know who the actual candidates are, and they tell you over and over and over again, because repetition is key. Repetition is what helps information stick in people's brains and makes people think about it later on down the road.
People can only sign once. We have to reach new audiences. I've been told
doing the shorts over and over and over again, and yes, do it. You could probably still find more entertaining ways to present the same information over and over and over again. While it's going to get repetitive, it is going to be the only way to get people to eventually act. And like I said originally, the shorts algorithm should still be helping you reach new audience.
Oh, become a full-time streamer. I might consider it if I thought
I think that's probably the worst idea out of all of them.
Would work, but I don't. I've been told I should have made a bigger deal about countries crossing minimum thresholds. Well, I didn't want to celebrate that because that's an arbitrary number. They're the minimums. All that really matters is that 1 million number, and we're a long ways away. Now, another suggestion has been to make a plea to big gamers, like PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, Moist Critical, Markiplier.
Well, it worked, so I guess you gotta say this advice was solid.
Anyone like that? Well, yeah, I think that might be a great idea. Our biggest obstacle in the campaign has always been getting enough exposure, and they have exposure. I think any one of them could end this with one video and change gaming history.
And they did.
Problem is, I have no idea how to reach any of them. Plus, I can understand if they might shy away from this. First, they're probably busy people. But second, they may not want the kind of heat that comes with changing gaming history, even if it's for...
Turns out you're a little wrong on that one. I was going to say, people that are in that big of a YouTube position normally are in that position because they're used to taking heat.
For the better. And third, if they back this, then 1 million people might mob them to back something else, and then there's no end to it. So I actually can understand some people wanting to sit this out. I mean, yeah, it really sucks that we can't get enough attention on this badly needed change in the games industry, but I'm not shocked either. honestly, I'm already punching way, way above my weight class on
I was gonna say he was definitely punching up, and they were definitely punching down.
this. My main promotion video for it got a little under 250,000 views, and about 15% of my audience is from EU countries who are eligible to sign. So that means I shouldn't have expected much more than 30 to 40,000 signatures from my audience, and we're over 10 times that.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
almost like a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
say
people out there don't like
that's definitely like getting 10 times the amount of your actual audience definitely means that people care.
having their games destroyed. Anyway, most of the criticism I've seen for how I've run this campaign kind of comes down to be more popular. Yeah, sure.
Honestly, it works. And it did work. Like, people are talking about it. Like, a lot of people are talking about it.
Maybe everybody else knows how to do that. I don't. I kind of view that critique as similar to don't be poor financial advice. And that
It's honestly solid financial advice. Like, I tried it one time. It was, like, the best ever. The only reason I stopped is because, like, acting rich is really hard and it costs a lot of money. And I'm poor.
that's from people who support the campaign. For all the support and fair coverage we've received, there's been some opposition too. Though I want to say 80, maybe even 90% of people who are against the initiative are against it because they think it's doing something it's not. For example,
Now, see, that's where I was. That's 110% where I was. Before, like, I watched a couple of other videos, and I'm gonna let him get into like a lot more of it and everything else like that also. But I thought that this initiative was going to hurt the gaming industry more than it was going to help it.
the number one criticism about the initiative that we've never been able to shake is that it's unworkable because you can't expect publishers to support games forever.
And see, that's
Yeah,
what I was all
we
about,
know.
though.
That's why we've never asked for that. I must have said this 100 times now. It was written on the website from day one.
No, we are not asking that all. That okay. Question: aren't you asking companies to support games forever? Isn't that unrealistic? No, we are not asking that at all. We are in favor of publishers ending support of the game whenever they choose. What we are asking is that they implement the end of life plan to modify or patch the game so that it can run on customer systems with no further support from the company being necessary. We agree that it is unrealistic to expect companies to support games indefinitely and do not advise that in any way. Do not advise that in any way. Additionally, there are already real-world examples of publishers ending support for online-only games in reasonable ways, such as Gran Turismo, Sport, Knockout City, Mega Man X Dive, Scrolls, / Seller's Bane, Duelists, and etc.
One. But this keeps coming up
So,
over and over.
he said, and like I think I said at the beginning of this video, they don't want like publishers to have to just keep these games alive forever. They just want, once you're done milking everybody for money, just make sure we can still play the game.
Over again. See, that's the thing. As soon as you say 3 words on requiring end of life plans, gamers especially will jump to some conclusion, and I never know where they're going to land. Ironically, non-gamers tend to be much better at understanding the initiative because they're not coming with a whole bag full of assumptions. A couple other criticisms are how this would violate copyright law by forcing publishers to give up their intellectual property. No, it wouldn't. Some of you may want.
The initiative wouldn't conflict with copyright law for 2 reasons. The customer would have no additional rights beyond what they were sold in the first place. The ability to run a copy of the publisher's game. The only difference between now would be the publisher would no longer be able to permanently revoke the license without the fault of the customer, which is, yeah, you just essentially get a version of the game that will run on your system and they no longer have to support servers for it. Because the initiative focuses exclusively on the outcome, a working game, and not the methodology of doing so, source code, server banks, specific files, no specific demands for any intellectual property are being made to the publisher. This leaves full discretion to the publisher and how they wish to manage their intellectual property. While the publisher may deem it necessary to release more intellectual property to fulfill the requirements of letting the customer retain a copy of their game, the initiative is not specifically mandating that. So, what that means in layman speak, essentially, is that they do not have to give up any assets, any visual assets, any 3D models, any code or anything like that. They don't have to give that to the public or anything. They can still keep that. All they have to do is make the game actually playable, even if that means adding more to the game. Like, yeah, may deem it necessary to release more intellectual property to fulfill the requirement of letting the customer retain the copy of the game. The incentive is not specifically mandating that. Okay, no, I actually misread the ending. If the publisher decides it at the end, they can let go of that intellectual property and let the source code go. So people can do what is it? Can do like private servers and everything like that. But then they're saying that they don't necessarily mandate you to do that. All they mandate you to do is that the customer can actually permanently play the game after you're done. Like I said, milking the customer for money essentially, and you don't want to actually support it or make any more content or pay for the servers anymore. You just want to let the player do whatever they want offline at that point.
I want to pause this part, or how this won't work because of end user license agreements. That's also not a problem. Or how this isn't possible because publishers already have agreements with other companies and don't have the rights to distribute that code. We're aware of that. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say specifically, if they already don't have to distribute the code, then there's no reason for them for that to be a conflict. Like, I'm going to eventually read this also, but like, just logically speaking, if you don't have to give the source code up, then you never have to violate those agreements in the first place. All you're doing is just giving the consumer another version of the game that they originally paid for in the first place. Just a version of it that they can run not on the original servers that they built. The issue is in like one thing that is going to really like it's going to stop people from making these games is essentially what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to make two games, because making everything communicate with a server in code is completely different than just writing the game in code and everything. And like, so while it actually might end up being easier to make the offline version of the game, because you don't have to write that extra code of it communicating with the server. Um, I don't even actually, now that I'm trying to think about it, I don't 100% know if you, there, I think there is, because I haven't done too much multiplayer coding. I mostly work on single player games. I did try to make a Tetris style card game, but it was probably one of the most difficult things I think I've ever done in my life. Actually, it was so frustrating. But what I'm getting at is when I did that, it was the way I had to code it would not have worked in an offline set like scenario and everything, and I would essentially have to reprogram the game altogether and create an entirely new game. And if publishers end up having to do that, they are not going to make. I mean, they're going to like because they're always going to see these as money sinks that they can milk for as long as they can. They're just going. I think there's two ways that this could go specifically. They could go in with a plan, so like they already start the game, like every part of development already has that end of life version of the game in mind. So they're essentially developing two games at the same time and making sure that you get both an offline version, like every part of the game will eventually be in the offline version that they'll just unlock once they're done. I would think that would be the much more like kind of efficient way, even though it sounds inefficient when you really write it all down on paper. Like developing two games at the same time doesn't sound great, but like Pokemon's been like trying to pull it off for years, and like they did halfway decently on Black and White, so I think it can be done. Um, the other way I could see it done is, fuck, what was I getting at? I actually had a point and I lost it because of the other fucking point. Let me try to think about it again. I think what they also might end up doing is they will make the game a live service and everything else like that, and then at the very end, try to rush and make like a half-ass version of the game, and that's what we're going to get a lot of, is like very poorly put together versions of these games that are barely passable by these laws that we're going to end up getting. It's going to be one or the other. We'll
the
see.
initiative is still possible. Those are the ones I've seen most
I meant to
organic.
read this also. Shit.
Also not a problem. Or how this isn't possible because publishers already have agreements with other companies and don't have the rights to distribute that code. We're aware of
The terms of the initiative would still be possible regardless of any pre-existing deals with publishers that might conflict with it. Because it is not retroactive. If passed, it would not go into effect until likely years from now, giving publishers time to make new deals for future games they wish to sell in the EU. So essentially, what he's saying is like it will be effective for the new development cycle. The old ones will kind of be grandfathered in a little bit on like a lot of their deals, or they'll be forced to make new deals altogether. Existing games where these terms would still not be possible. There are multiple options, but only the EU Commission could make a final decision on what would happen. Some examples are shutting down the game before the new directive goes into effect. That would really fucking suck for like a lot of them, actually. Exempting existing games from the new requirement and only affecting new game the sale. Yeah, like I said, grandfathering them in.
that. Yes, the initiative is still possible. Those are the ones I've seen most organically. Beyond that, there is a clear patient zero where others come from. Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's
He's getting into the messy part, the nitty gritty, the one everyone's talking about.
become a liability for the campaign for me not to.
He's not wrong either. Like, I bought into it.
Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Pirate Software, who goes by Thor. If your only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed.
See, the thing is I watched his original video also, and I don't know why I didn't also pick up on, like, him talking about how it's not going to end up hurting it. Like, I fully bought into Thor talking about how it's going to end up causing publishers more harm than good, instead of actually just listening to his original video like I should have.
This video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about. I am not saying that lightly. I will prove it in a minute. Now you might be thinking, okay, so some YouTuber got something wrong on the internet. So what?
It's not just some YouTuber. When he's specifically a developer that's well respected in the community, and he's telling you that this initiative is going to hurt more than help, you're going to take that as most people, like I did, are going to take that at face value until either cracks in the persona emerge or told otherwise, not even just told otherwise, shown evidence of otherwise, which has started to emerge over the past couple months.
See, that was my thinking too. The problem is how incredibly influential this YouTuber has been. Remember that list of coverage on the campaign? Well, best I can tell, Thor's coverage has been bigger than literally anyone else on those lists.
That's
except
crazy.
Asmongold. And the only video Asmongold has...
You want to know know that the funniest part is I saw the original Stop Killing Games on Asmongold's channel, so there you go.
On this bigger than Thor's was about Thor's video. So for all
That's also fair. I saw it on Thor's channel first, but I also saw Asmongold react to it because I was like, oh, what's his take on it?
practical purposes, Thor here has been the #1 voice on the campaign, and he's been lying about what it is. That's a bit loaded, though. In this case, I'm using the second definition of lie. I have no evidence it's the
To create a false or misleading impression. To make an untrue statement.
first. This video came out right as we were building momentum, then except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork. This put me in kind of a...
because initially in his video for the Stop Killing Games video and everything was that other companies were going to be able to use this initiative maliciously to essentially force publishers and developers into giving the source code to people so they can then use that source code to start their own private servers, essentially making it so companies can like cannibalize each other's games and make it so that the game industry overall will, at least for live service and everything, kind of implode and collapse in on itself. But as we've seen in this video, and I read over in a couple of his statements, which, like, the one thing I actually do have a little bit of a, like, them getting grandfathered in, like, existing ones and everything feels, like, a bit unfair. I feel like, and it's really gonna suck, like, I feel like they should either have to comply or they should just have to shut down. And, like, that's gonna suck because there's a lot of games that just aren't gonna comply. They're just gonna shut down before the actual initiative pops through, and they're gonna jump on. They're still probably going to make a live service game, but like I said, they're going to probably do it from like the business model I was originally talking about, where they make the offline version and the online version at the same time. So when they get to end of life cycle, they can then just send out that end of life cycle, and they'll probably even sell the offline version to you while the online version is online, kind of like how I think Fallout 76 does that with some of its worlds and everything. If you pay for Fallout first, I believe you can play in a private world offline. I don't know if you can play fully offline or not. I need to check on that.
A no-win scenario too, because if I ignored it, then a lot of people are going to get misinformed about the campaign. But if I did a response video, which is not something I wanted to do anyway, then it might look like drama farming, which could understandably turn off a lot of people.
It would 110% have looked like drama farming if he had immediately responded to the campaign instead of waiting this long. The fact that he waited this long looks so much better on him than literally anything else he could have done, because this is what it looks like what it is. A last-ditch cry for help over something that he actually cares about. And if he had done that when Thor had thrown the initial video out, everyone would have been like, okay, this is two YouTubers just having a spat, and that's all it would have been. He would have never gotten these signatures that he's gotten.
People from the campaign, because it's not about that at all. So I quickly made this video trying to clear up all misconceptions and concerns about the initiative with timestamps for everyone's questions.
So yeah, he did a response, but as you see, no mention of Thor. Thor's not in the thumbnail. He just goes through just explaining a bunch of questions about the initiative. No ill will, just trying to spread more information.
Hoping the truth would eventually come out. I can see now that was a mistake. I should have just embraced the drama. To this day...
No, because I think what would have ended up happening is the initiative would have ended up being... I mean, it kind of already is, because now he kind of had... Because all the channels are now drama farming it. Fuck, I'm drama farming it right now. So kind of has gone to the drama farming side. But like I said, it doesn't seem as much as that. But like,
hey, I'm still getting frequent comments and emails about the same falsehoods about the campaign. still getting.
I was gonna say, I feel like it really would have just made the campaign fizzle out at the time. Like, yes, he would have gotten more exposure faster, but what would have happened in the long run is as soon as the drama was over, the campaign would have fizzled out instead of him getting as much work as he has gotten done on it.
Frequent comments and emails about the same falsehoods about the campaign that originated in this video. Well, now I have nothing to lose. If we don't get the signatures, then none of this matters anyway. So if this campaign is failing because of me not talking about this, then I'll at least correct history here on the way down.
I was gonna say that's all you can do is just fucking get out there and spread the word and hope to God that the town crier picks it up, which they did.
I'll get this over with and go over what I think are the biggest points of Pirate Software's videos. I'm not going to go over everything because collectively Thor has made hours of video on both me and the movement. I'd be here forever. Believe
I don't think they were that long, but I need to go back and check it, but they probably were.
me, I could address smaller things too, and kind of already have. All right, let's start. Okay, point number 1. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is.
I would effectively say that because of like we've gone over, he's just misinformed, like just straight up.
Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically we don't want single-player games
No.
to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. That's the...
Not 100%.
This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they wanted
No,
to...
he's talking about all games. All games need to be playable after you've spent money in them.
to be about specifically games where it is a single player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists.
One thing, this is actually going to hit hard, and I actually didn't think about it till just now, which I mean, like, a lot of people are going to say good, and a lot of people, like, aren't actually going to give a shit about it, but it's going to hit the mobile scene, like, some kind of hard. Like, we're going to have some kind of mobile renaissance where, like, you're going to see a lot less, like, money-hungry live service games on there, and we're going to go back to, you have to pay $1 for Angry Birds again. And that's it. You got, like, 12 levels of 12 worlds with 24 levels each, and there's your Angry Birds. And occasionally they'll throw a Star Wars DLC pack that you'll pay $1 for again, and that'll be mobile gaming now. It won't be Candy Crush selling you. Well, I think Candy Crush can even be played offline, so technically, I don't think it falls into these caveats. Actually, wonder if that would interesting. Actually,
Instead of
Wonder
just
how much of a
targeting
loophole that
single
would be.
player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. This is what I mean.
Well, he got that impression because when you talk about, because I think like at the time that this initiative originally started, there was some kind of scare before the crew thing happened. Like the crew thing also happened, but like there was like, what was it? It was like a game came out early or something like that, and people could actually play it like on their actual, like I think it was like PlayStation or like Xbox or something like that, and people were actually in the middle of playing it, and they were like, I think not only was the publisher able to stop them from playing the game actively like while they were on their own console, but I think they were also able to delete it from their console. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah. Oh, that hurt.
I know. I saw. She's a bitch.
I'm fine, but it just hurt.
Um. But yeah, they actively like not only turn the game off, but like I could be misinforming
No, I know
also,
what you're talking about.
but they also like deleted the
about
game
that.
at the same time, and like they were able to do this all
Is it
remotely. It wasn't Overwatch. Wasn't Overwatch. Well, I mean, technically, yeah, that is an entirely destroyed game that's no longer in service anymore. And I even bought the disc. It's now an Overwatch 2 disc. I don't even think it will download Overwatch 2 if you put the disc in anymore. Yeah, that is another one that's gone. That's dead.
It's harder for gamers to understand this because they come with so many assumptions. It's like that saying about doctors being the worst patients. So let's clear this up. It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games as a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff from earlier, and he was
So I think, like I said, is initially just that scare from that. And I feel like that might have muddied the water, like, might have muddied his perception for people to think that he was only talking about single player games.
mostly talking about the initiative. Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they've sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their support. The long version depends on what kind of transaction is being made. As you can see,
Games sold as a one-time purchase with no stated expiration date that do not require a connection to a publisher affiliated parties in order to function at the time of shutdown. No impact. These games will already games sold as one-time games that are completely free. No impact since no commerce is involved. Requirements on completely free games we see as overreach. I mean, that's fair. If you're not making any money, like, why are you trying to regulate me? Microtransactions for games sold as one-time purchases with no stated expiration date. Publishers would be able to be required to implement an end-of-life plan when supported ends. If the customer microtransactions would not be permanently disabled, this would. Okay, so they can't take away your microtransactions, and they need an end-of-life plan if the game doesn't already have one. Games that are sold as a service with a stated would attempt to require publishers to have some sort of end of life bill. Like I said, and I feel like from here on out, they're going to develop it simultaneously, and you're not going to see as many of these games, but when you do see them, they're going to be like, they're going to have to be damn near flawless.
it's not easy to explain in a soundbite. But if you notice, we don't make a distinction between single player and multiplayer games. That's because the law.
Yeah, I was going to say, it specifically says right here, like for single player games and everything else, games sold as a one-time purchase with no expiration date and don't require connection to the publisher or affiliated parties. Pretty much anything you buy with a physical copy that you don't have to download, you can just put the disc in and immediately play it, already meets the standard. Hell, I feel like even if you do have to download and you can still play without an internet connection after you've downloaded it, then it still meets the initiative. And most single player games meet that. So most single player games wouldn't even be near affected by this initiative, as, like he said, mobile games and multiplayer and live service games and everything, which is the exact opposite of what Thor was saying. Like, the
doesn't either.
entirely.
So why make this even harder?
The campaign.
Both the movement and the law are making distinctions on how games are sold. Also, that part he said about it affecting all live service games, yes and no. It would affect most live service.
Like we went over here, like if you're just a live service game that has microtransactions, you just have to make sure when you're no longer doing, like you're no longer supporting the game and the game's no longer online and everything, you just have to make sure the player still has their microtransactions, and that's it. And if you're free, and you don't even do microtransactions, they're not even affecting you in the slightest.
Service games in the future, but the initiative is not retroactive. So that's one.
Yeah, which he explained earlier. They want to either grandfather people in or find one or the other, either like terminate or, which I think they're probably trying to go more with the grandfather in, which I still don't 100% agree with.
Thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think this is about converting multiplayer games to single player. Once again, he made that up. And
Well, I guess technically no. So I get this is a little muddy, I would say, because I also, like I've been saying nonstop, it seems like an end of life plan is making sure that you can play the game offline without reliance on the company's server, aka turning a multiplayer game into a single player. Well, it doesn't have to be single player, but it has to be playable on your console. Technically, they could design it in a way where you can still invite friends and it can still be multiplayer, and you can still have those like live service experiences per se. Or hell, like even if you want to, you could do like a Pow World thing where you start your own server up and you can have like 20 to 40 people on there that you don't even really 100% know. You just throw the fucking code out on Twitter.
I have no idea why he thought that.
Transitioning an entire...
See, I feel like you should kind of a little bit, because like I said, I kind of also assumed you were talking about turning multiplayer, like live service games, into single player games. But like I said, there's no reason why they still can't be multiplayer too. They just don't need to rely on the servers. You just have to be able to create a local server.
Multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game. That's what they're asking for.
No.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single...
See, and that is a misrepresentation. They could still make the game, like it would be incredibly hard for World of Warcraft specifically to create a single player experience for it. But if they did somehow do that, they still could retain the difficulty and everything. You would just like I said, you would just have to be able to make a local server that can hold up to what I think you need, like 20 to 30 man raids. So you need a server that can hold up to 20 or 30 people. It's definitely doable on a local server.
Single player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single player offline? No, dude.
Correct. No. This one is particularly baffling to me because I've heard most counter arguments before, but until Thor, I've never heard this one. That we want the industry to convert all multiplayer games.
Now, see, I also, when I heard this originally on Thor's video, I was like, also like, no, that just sounds retarded. But like he's saying now, he kind of never said that. We all just kind of made assumptions, or well, I made assumptions and Thor made assumptions.
And the single player ones. I keep saying it. You never know where gamers are going to take this.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
Actually,
It is
yeah,
vague.
he was.
And because of that, it will impact it.
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that statement. It's almost as if that's not what the initiative is asking for. But those were his streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had time to research?
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future.
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single player games are
Wait, let me go back real quick.
Off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then
Pitching it developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support.
Taking away support in the future.
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single player games are
It
advertised.
doesn't really make sense.
What is he doing?
It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single player game, but adding online only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements.
So he's trying to, I see what Thor's 100% trying to do. It's because The Crew is an online video game that was, at least when I originally saw it advertised and everything like that, was advertised as a single player game. So he's trying to say, because the entire movement was started because of The Crew, he's also making the assumption that people are feeling that they are, what's the word, like they got conned. He's making the assumption that people are mad because they feel like they got conned out of a single player experience, when in reality they got sold a multiplayer experience. And he's saying that the initiative needs to be more clear on the fact that they want this business practice specifically to be changed. The fact that the game should be advertised more heavily as a multiplayer experience instead of a single player experience, which is 100% not what the movement wants to do. And I think the only reason Thor thinks this is because the initiative was initially started by The Crew, and The Crew kind of did this, and like, yeah, I don't know. It is very weak logic.
That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
And there are some people that'll say, well, just make it all single player.
Like
well,
you?
I've explained that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you'd have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. These are two different ideologies, and that's okay to have two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it.
But
No, like I said, it will be double the developer time. Like I said, if this does go forward, I do 100% believe we will have developers that will start developing. Like, these games won't stop being made because they still make enough money to afford the development of 2 games. So they are going to do it because the game is always going to make a buttload of money, like a shitload of money. But it is going to now take more time. I am going to have to edit this.